Hello students, so today it's going to be 7-7. It's going to still be factoring, but we're going to learn different techniques for factoring trinomials. So our first example we're going to have is we're going to try to factor 6x squared plus 36x minus 96. All right, so before we just have to find two numbers that will multiply up to negative 96. That will also add up to 36. But we can only do that if the number in front of the x squared term is 1. So right now, we can't do that. We can't use that technique. So what we want to do is we want to take out this 6 here. So we're going to factor 6 out of each one of these terms here. So basically, we're going to reverse distribute. We're going to take a 6 out. We're going to take a 6 out of this 36, and we're going to take a 6 out of this 96 term. So I'm going to put a 6 up front. That's what we're factoring out. And then if we take a 6 from 6, we're left with a factor of just 1. So I'm just going to leave it as 1x squared, which is the same thing as x squared. Next, we want to take a factor of 6 out of 36. Well, when we take a factor of 6 out, we will have 6 left. So we'll have plus 6x here. And then if we take a factor out of 96, that's going to be 16. So we're going to bring down the minus sign. And then this is 16. So from here, we have a 1x squared term. So we can go ahead and find two numbers that multiply up to this. And then that also add up to this. So on the side, I'm going to make my table here. And then I'm going to put negative 16 here. So we want to figure out the pairs of numbers that multiply up to negative 16. So let's go with negative 8 and 2. 8 and negative 2. There's negative 4 and 4. And then negative 16, 1. And 16, negative 1. So those are all the factors I can think of for negative 16. So after we have the list, we want to see which one of these pairs will add up to 6. So let's go ahead and add up each pair. So negative 8 plus 2, that's negative 6. Negative 6, okay. 8 plus negative 2, that's 6. So we found our matching pair here. So we can just stop there, but if this wasn't the correct one, we would have to try for all of them. So our matching pair is 8 and negative 2. So this whole thing here will turn into these two brackets like we did from before. We're going to put x's in front because there's an x squared there. And then we're just going to plug in these two numbers here. So it's a plus 8 and then it's a minus 2 here. And then we have to bring down this 6 here because 6 is on the outside. And then this would be our factor form here. 6, x plus 8, and x minus 2 are the three factors of this original trinomial. All right, so let's move on to the next example. So let's say we have a 7x squared minus 13x minus 2, and we have to factor. All right, so how are we going to factor this? So we can't factor out a 7 like we did in the first example because 7 is not a factor of 13 or 2. So this is what I like to use. It's called the bottoms up method. All right, so bottoms up method. So the first thing I want to do is I want to take this number here and I want to multiply it to the last number and then rewrite it without the first number. So I'm going to get rid of that there. And then I'm going to multiply it with this negative 2. So we're going to have negative 14 at the end. All right. So next, we want to factor normally because we don't have a number in front of the x squared term. It's a 1. So we can factor by finding the two numbers that multiply up to this that also add up to this. So again, let's make our table here. I'm going to put negative 14 here. So we want to find out the pairs of factors that will multiply up to negative 14. So that's going to be negative 7 and 2, 7, negative 2, negative 14 and 1, 14 and negative 1. I think that's it. All right, so let's see which one of these pairs will add up to negative 13. So negative 7 plus 2, that's negative 5. 7 plus negative 2, that's positive 5. Negative 14 plus 1, that's negative 13. So we can stop there. So this is the pair here that works for both of them, that multiplies up to negative 14 and also adds up to negative 13. So let's make our brackets here. And we're going to put x's in front because there's an x squared term here. We're going to put minus 14 here. And we're going to put plus 1 here, because those are our factors. But we're not done. Since we multiplied by 7 in the beginning, we have to divide by 7 here. All right, so after we do that, we want to reduce the fractions if possible. So here, 14 over 2, we can reduce that. That becomes x minus 2, right? 14 divided by 7 is 2. And then here, we have x plus 1 over 7. But we need a number here. So what we want to do is, this is why I think it's called the bottoms up. We're going to take the bottom number and we're going to move it up to the x. So our factor would be x minus 2 and 7x plus 1. So this is the factored form of our original problem. And if you want to check whether these are really the factors, we can FOIL it through, and then you'll see that it'll equal that. Because if we just do the first part here, x times 7x, we're going to get the first part 7x squared here. And we do the last term, negative 2 times positive 1, we're going to get this negative 2 here. So it looks like it's going to work. If you don't believe me, you can FOIL it out. But that is how we do the bottoms up method. All right, so our last example. Let's say we need a factor 6x to the 4th minus 8x to the 3rd minus 14x squared. So here, this is weird because we factored something like x squared plus like an x term here, and then plus like a constant here. So we want it similar to this form here. We want an x squared, we want just an x here, and then we want just some number at the end. So it looks like this has an x to the 4th, this has an x to the 3rd, this has an x to the 2nd. So what we can do is similar to the first example. Let's go ahead and factor out an x to the 2nd term. So it's basically reverse distributing. We're going to factor out an x to the 2nd term from each one of these. All right, so I'm going to put that in front. So I'm going to factor out a x to the, so it looks like I can factor out a 2 from each one of these as well. So I'm going to factor out a 2x to the 2nd from each one. So what I'll have left inside the parentheses, so if I took out a factor of 2 from 6, I'll have 3. If I took 2 x's from 4, I'll have x to the 2nd here. Same thing for the middle term, bring down the minus sign. If I take out a factor of 2 from 8, I'll have 4. If I take out 2 x's from 3, I'll have just 1, bring down the minus sign. If I took out a factor of 2 from 14, I'm left with a factor of 7. If I took out 2 x's from 2 x's, I'll have no x's. So this is what it should look like after you factor out something from each one of this. But here, we have a trinomial here. We can factor this. So we can't use the regular method because the number in front of the x squared term is greater than 1. So again, let's use the bottoms up method. So we're going to take this number and multiply it to that. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite our equation here. This we just bring down. We can't do anything with that. All right, so that's what we have. I just took this number, multiplied to this. Now let's go ahead and find the factors of negative 21. The pairs of factors that will multiply up to that. So there's negative 21 and 1, 21 and negative 1. There's negative 7 and 3, and 7 and negative 3. I think that's it. So which one of these pairs will add up to negative 4 here? So let's go ahead and add them up. Negative 21 plus 1, that's negative 20. 21 plus negative 1, that's a positive 20. Negative 7 plus 3, that's negative 4. We're done. We found our matching pair here. So let's go ahead and make the brackets here for the factors. Just bring this down. So put the x's in front and then put our matching pair in. So minus 7 and plus 3. But we're not done. Remember, bottoms up method, we multiplied by 3 in the beginning. We have to divide by 3 at the end. All right, so this, we can't reduce this anymore. This, we can. So let's go ahead and rewrite it. All right, and again, this is why it's called the bottoms up method. We take the bottom number and move it up in front of the x. So this is the answer here. All right, so this is the factored form of our original problem. So we use multiple methods we had to factor out and then use the new method we just learned, bottoms up. And then this is going to be your answer. And again, you can go ahead and FOIL this through and then distribute this, and then you'll get back to our original answer. So I hope this helps with the 7-7 homework, and everything is due this week. So good luck. If you need any help, make sure you join the Zoom classroom or send me an email and I'll definitely get to it as soon as possible.